Good day, everyone. We are the six reporters. Let me introduce to you myself. My name is Kay Eusebio. With me, my co-reporter, which is VJ Almirante. But before that, let us proceed to our first activity. Our first activity entitled Numbers to Letters. So now, let us identify each number that has a hidden word. Number 1. The answer for this is education. Number 2 is, the answer is gender fair. And the number 3, and the answer is environment. And the last one is non-sexist. Among those numbers and has a word, what was our topic for today? Okay, very good. Our topic for today is all about gender fair and sexist education and environmental education. So by that, VJ Almirante will discuss what is the gender fair and sexist education. I will discuss the environmental education. Environmental education. When you hear the word environmental education, what comes on your mind? Environmental education, or what we call EE, it is described as education about, for, and through the environment, which means that it encompasses different approaches to learning and interacting with the natural world. According to Galland 2001, environmental education is an education about, for, and through the environment. It is a field that emerged post-modernism as environmental problems began to be recognized in 1960s. As postmodernism celebrated interconnectedness of all life as opposed to attitude of human domination. Now, when we said postmodernism, it is an issues about environment that exist. So when we said education about the environment, it involves teaching the scientific principles like ecology, biology, environmental system, and challenges that facing our ecosystem. For example, such as pollution, deforestation, and climate change. It focuses on understanding the environment and the impact of human activity on it. And education for the environment. This aspect, the environmental education, emphasizes that the idea of stewardship and responsibility, it will aim to foster a sense of duty to protect and to preserve the environmental for the future generation. Education for the environment, which is we will, as a student, we will encourage to proactive our behavior, just as to have an advocacy, conversation effort, conservation, or what we call conservation effort, for us to conserve or to protect our environment and to have a sustainable practices as a young generation. And education through the environment. When we said education through environment, this means the using of the environment itself as a teaching tool. For example, in our outdoor education approach, by learning directly from the environment. For as a student, we have what we call with that peace when the environment is sustainable and there is no destruction at all. Individuals will individuals will develop their deeper connection to the nature, which can inspire more meaningful and action to protect it. Next to discuss is about our common future in 1987. It's stated that the effect of environmental destruction are being increasingly felt: pollution of land, air, and water, depletion of the forest and other resources, and the global warming. In environmental education is clearly an educational response to ecological crisis. People's unsustainable ways of living and consuming needs to change, including the paradigm of development that is based on the profit maximum, a paradigm that inflicts violence on the earth. Hence, environmental education seek to empower people with knowledge, skills, and values that will enable them to live in peace with Mother Earth. An important goal is to make everyone a good steward or kin and to the natural environment in order that he needs both the present future generation can be met. This bottom line message was, of course, the theme of the landmark book. And this passage highlights that escalating impacts of the environmental destruction, which is the evidence of widespread pollution. For example, it can affect to the land, air, and water, the depletion of the forests, of the natural resources, and the global warming. These issues signify a serious ecological crisis driven a largely unsustainable human activity. Farmers, no, there are which can be affect their natural resources to gain a profit, which is the goal of environmental education is to empower the people. Environmental education seek to empower individuals and communities by equipping them with the knowledge and skills and the values needed to make environmentally conscious in their decision. This includes, for example, the teaching people on how to reduce their environmental impacts and conserve resources and adopt sustainable lifestyle, which is how the environment affect their lifestyle. The second one is the goal of the environmental education is to have a harmonious living with nature. This will be has a ultimate goal of the environmental education is to foster a relationship of peace and respect between humans and the earth. This means moving away from exploitative behaviors and embracing practices that supports the long-term health of the environment. And the last one is the stewardship of the environment. One is the key ideas of environmental education is the concept of being a steward or kin of the environment. Steward implies responsibility to care the environment, to preserve the natural resources, not only for the current generation, but for the future generation as well. It recognizes that the human well-being is deeply intertwined with the health of the planet, which is the connection of the human and the earth will intertwine. Our Common Future in 1987 is also known as the Brundtland Report, introduced the concept of sustainable development. Development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability for the future generation to meet their economic needs or to meet their own needs. This report is important to have a balancing economic growth, which is to protect the environment and to have a social equity. It is called for the development model to ensure the human activities do not jeopardize the earth ecosystem and the well-being of the future generation. In this essence, the passage argues that the environmental education is essential for the creating a future in which human lives is in harmony with the nature and it is drones on the principles land of our common future to advocate the sustainability and the steward and the long-term ecological health. And the third one is TOE 2004. Remind us that while peace-oriented environmental education teaches people and school to be personally and socially green, undertake the recycle, the 3R waste management, which is the recycle, reuse, and reduce programs. Environmental education should be able to make them a question over materialist lifestyles and to consumerist ideology propagated by dominant modernization paradigm, as well as advocate simplicity, each rights and equitable. The key points of 2004 is in environmental education, which has a peace-oriented. To refer the environmental education that encourage individuals and institutions, for example, like schools, to adopt the environmentally friendly and practices as a person and social level. These practices include initiatives such as recycling and reducing and reusing the waste, and how they manage, which contribute to sustainability. This is the foundational aspect of environmental education. It equips people with a practical habit that reduce environmental harm. So, in summary, TOE approach to the environmental education is to expand its scope from the merely teaching green practices, like, for example, recycling, to encouraging a broader critique of consumerism and materialism, which are the major drivers of environmental destruction. For example, the bottles, the cans, which can affect or destroy our environment. Environmental education, in his view, should inspire people to live more simply and respect the right of the earth, and push for development that is both sustainable and equitable, ensuring that all people benefit from the environmental protection. And this form of the environmental education is ultimately will seek and reshape the societal values in challenging the modern capitalist model and the priorities to profit and to consumption of ecological balance and fairness, for us to preserve our future generation and our future environment. That would be all our discussion, and thank you for listening.